Hey guys, hope everyone is doing well. Today we're going to talk about Love is Blind Season 6. Now, if you haven't watched it, click off of this video because I'm going to spoil everything. Okay? So you can leave now if you do not want anything to be spoiled. Okay, if you're still here, then that means you, one, don't care, or two, you have seen it already. So let's just get right into it. I really want to talk about Clay and Amber, aka AD. Now, I don't want to judge her, like, we're not bashing her, like, there's none of that is going on here. I just really want to talk about that relationship dynamic as a case study so that we can learn and we won't be blindsided or confused when things turn out how they do. Okay, so it's a really great case study. Like what I said in my first video about men being vetted, where men can pre-vet themselves by just telling you the truth. Only time a man is gonna actually be honest is in the beginning of the relationship. Especially a narcissist, they'll come out and they will let you know because in their little twisted minds they want to say, hey, I told you how I was and you stayed. So therefore you allowed me or you were okay with it or I had permission to do the things that I did because I told you and you said, hey, you kept on going. That means you consented. That's what these narcs actually think and believe. Okay, so we're really going to talk about it. So I have like a couple of clips that I really want us to kind of like listen, go through, and then we could kind of talk about it so we can all learn and evolve and kind of be hip to the game, so to speak.
I'm 32, so a lot of people have a lot to say about how I should date, who I should date. Even my mom. Oh, goodness. They're like, maybe you should stop dating these players and these athletes and these ballers. I don't really give the nice guy a try. If I see a red flag, I'm like, oh, well, I'll just paint my nails red to match. But I really want something real.
The first step to solving a problem is to admit you have one. So Amber clearly knows that she is compromised. She said she sees the red flags and she's going to just paint her nails to match. But yet she wants to find true love. Those two things are the opposite. In order to find somebody that's genuine, you can't ignore the red flags. And if you know that you have a tendency, then it's best for you to keep distance when you're now starting to date somebody. My sister had this saying, if you give 100% of yourself to someone, when they leave, you'll have nothing because they took all of you, right? It's kind of pessimistic, I know, but the concept applies, okay? Do not put 100% of yourself and invest everything in a new relationship that's just started. Because then when you do things like that, your confirmation bias is going to kick in. You're going to want it to work so badly because if it fails, because you've put your identity into this relationship. So failure of the relationship becomes you being a failure. You're now the failure, you internalize that. So you cannot, and I repeat, do not put 100% of yourself into a relationship. You gotta keep some distance. You kind of keep some not at arm's length, but kind of actually, yeah, kind of at arm's length. You got to keep the relationship, be objective, don't believe everything. This is why, and this is going to sound so silly, but when I start dating someone, I prefer, this is going to sound crazy, but I prefer when I'm dating someone that I don't actually really like them. Because a lot, like a whole lot. Like if you start feeling like you like this person so much that you're like obsessed over them and you're like having heart palpitations when they talk to you, like that's a red flag for me. That's a red flag because it means that I'm compromised and it means that I'm too compromised to use my brain and I can get played. So therefore I'm not going to do it. And if somebody is like turning your stomach, is probably not all happy. It probably means that you're about to be put through something horrible. It's probably your instincts kicking in that there's like a predator nearby and you're just confusing it as butterflies when it's really nausea. That's my personal belief. So I like to be like, okay, this person is, my feeling is kind of like, okay, this person's like kind of interesting. We'll see. Let's see what they say. I like to keep a little bit of a distance because that way I know I can keep my head. Okay. But if you're an Amber girly and you know, like, hey, I really, really want true love and I'm willing to do anything, including ignoring red flags to get it, just know that you're just gonna get garbage. Like that's the only thing you're actually gonna get is um you're gonna get played. This next clip is Clay and Amber's first interaction. Now I'm assuming that this has been edited heavily like Netflix. I don't even know if it's like in chronological order, but we're just gonna go by how it's been edited, okay? So this first interaction that we see between them, Clay says something really, really interesting, and I want everyone to listen and see if you can kind of pick up on what he's actually saying. Because remember, like I said, this is going to be when they tell you the truth, so you need to listen like your life depends on it because it might. It really just might.
Hey,
Yes.
how old are you?
I'm 30. What about yourself?
I'm 32.
When I first turned 30, I was trying to hold on to 29 for as long as possible.
Oh gosh, why?
I just don't want to age, you know?
Did y'all get that? He said that he does not want to age. AKA, he's saying real clearly, hey, I have Peter Pan syndrome. That means that I'm not gonna grow up, and frankly, I don't want to. That's he's literally telling you that he does not want to get older, he does not want to mature, he wants to hold on to being 29. Like, we need to pick up on these things, okay? He just clearly said that he does not want to get older, he does not want to mature. This man is playing everybody. He is not here to get married, okay? Because if somebody was here to actually get married, they would not say, I don't want to grow up. I don't want to get older. I want to stay young. I want to stay in my 20s. I don't want to go into my 30s. I hate it. I'm reluctant. I'm holding on so tight to being in my 20s. That statement does not match somebody who wants to get married because getting married means getting older, getting mature, settling down, getting a family. If you clearly just the first thing out your mouth is, by the way, no, I don't want to be old. I don't want to get older. I want to stay in my 20s. And they're on a show for marriage, like you got to be smelling something other than the coffee and it's the BS. That's what it is. He's clearly stating that I'm immature and I don't want to grow up and I know this about myself and I don't care and I don't want to change. That's what he's saying. It's really interesting, these first few clips because Clay kind of does like a rapid fire exposition dump, really. So like right after he goes on about refusing to grow up and hating that, he's leaving his 20s and he doesn't want to and he wants to stay a kid. He asks her about cats, right? So let's listen.
I was actually thinking about getting a cat. What you think about that?
Absolutely not. I'm terrified of cats.
You're terrified of cats?
Terrified.
I like the fact that cats, you don't need to show them love all the time, you know?
That's a problem for
That's
me.
a problem. You need love all
That's
the
a problem.
He's telling her, I like cats because you don't have to show them love. Sidebar. How a man talks about cats is extremely telling. If a man doesn't like cats, that means he has a boundary issue because cats like boundaries. And people who don't like boundaries tend to not like cats. He's telling her Not only, "Hey, by the way, I'm immature. I know I'm immature and I don't care. I wanna stay in my 20s. I wanna be an F-boy," because that's pretty much what the equivalent of wanting to be in your 20s as a male is. You don't wanna grow up, you don't wanna mature, you don't actually wanna have a family, obviously, right? If you're saying you wanna be in your 20s. And I don't like people who have emotional expectations of me. I don't want to be with someone who requires me to be vulnerable. I don't even want somebody who requires me to show them that I love them. He's really speaking quite plainly to her, but you gotta listen. The really funny part of this is that I do believe that Amber did listen when he said, um, about the cats, right? That he doesn't want somebody that needs love, right? And she says, "That's a problem." I think she repeated it twice. Yeah, so she says, "That's a problem." And he laughs. He doesn't take it back or anything like that. So she knows that this is a red flag. She knows it's a problem. She's hearing it, what he's saying, but she's not really listening to what he's saying. And it's so funny because, like, as soon as she kinda, like, sets a standard or says, "Hey, yeah," about him not wanting to be with somebody that requires love, he then kinda switches the topic really or kinda goes into what he is willing to put on the table. Like, this is he's telling her, like, "Here's what I'm willing to offer," right? And then he goes into, "Oh, so you like kisses, right?" She says, "Yes, I do like kisses." And then he goes in with the, "I wanna kiss you right now." And then she says, kinda is taken aback, right? And she says, "Oh, that just kinda threw me for a loop."
I will bring it to your attention. If I'm like, hey, you haven't given me a kiss all day.
Oh, you gotta have your little kiss.
I got to.
Got to. I love it. I wish I could kiss you right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, that took me for a little loop.
I like to get a little sensual. I'm a touchy guy.
Okay, that was a narcissist tactic right there. They see you have a boundary, so they put something in like a little wrench they just kinda throw in to reel you back in. It's a little sprinkle of a love bomb, right? Because she just said something that she wanted, which was like kisses every day, which was literally something 2 seconds ago he said he doesn't like to do, right? And then she says, "No, I do want like somebody to show me love." And then he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I'll kiss you. I'll kiss you right now." This is game playing 101. He just backtracked after she set a boundary and said something to throw her off and to kinda remove her mind from what he just said. It's almost like brain editing or inception or something that he's doing, right? And we have to pay attention to this. I know it's, like, so difficult. This is why you need that objectivity when you're dating somebody. You can't be all in, because then you're just not gonna catch these things.
So, are you like ready for like a long term commitment?
I believe I am. I think I'm ready for that next stage of like settling down.
I love that.
It's up for the taking.
Yes.
She really came prepared to ask the right questions, but she didn't come prepared to hear the actual answers, right? And I think that is a real big stumbling block. Once again, great question. Are you ready for a long term commitment? AKA, are you ready for marriage? And he stutters when he says, "I believe I am," right? Now, these narcs are so sneaky. He didn't say, "I am." You're on a show to get married. Somebody asks you, "Hey, are you ready to get married?" You say, "I am," because that's why you're there to get married. You don't say, "I believe I am," and then the next thing out his mouth is, "I think I'm ready." He's being honest. Like, this is the weird, like, kind of mental games that these people like to play. Okay? So he can't claim, "Hey, I never told you that I was ready and, I want." a long-term relationship or I want marriage. I told you I believe I was and I think so. That's not a sure answer. So let's kind of take in everything that we know, everything that he has said out of his own mouth, because he's telling you the truth, okay? So far, this is what he said. This is the intel that we have gathered, right? He says, I don't want to grow up. I don't want someone that requires me to love them. I'm unsure about long term commitment. And finally, but you know what? I do like to get physical. I like to bang. I can do that for you. So this is what he said. And I know I keep like repeating it, these things over and over again, because I just want to send home to the unbelievers out there who don't think that these men tell you from the jump what's really going down and how the relationship is about to end. They do. Because is this not what we see? Was he not consistent the entire time? Like, is this not how it ended and what he's shown? And he even goes into more detail about the kind of person he is when he goes on about looks, but let's not get ahead of ourselves, right?
Talking to you.
You know, AD, I was actually doubting myself. I'm like, man, who's gonna love my like personality?
Stop.
Like, if they don't see me, how am I gonna really capture your attention? So, I mean, it's really your words of affirmation has been very helpful for me because I was actually kind of doubting myself through this process. You know.
That's so relatable. But
Clay's basically saying, I'm insecure and I have a personality that is difficult for anybody to love. And my personality usually isn't what I use to get girls. Like, I really don't even think it's actually enough to get a girl. What I use to get women is my looks and my money. That's what he's saying. He's giving us like a really great description of who he is and what the hell he's about. And I feel like Amber's really, once again, she's asking like really great questions. But even when he was going on about, oh, how like, hey, my personality is actually trash, she's like, no, no, stop, 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 don't say that. Why? Like, why would he's telling you the truth? Like, why would you not want to hear the answer to a question? You know what is going on here? I think she only, and this is true for so many women, so I'm not judging her. Like I said, this is a case study, right? So we're not really talking about their situation, but we could talk about maybe a situation similar to this or responses that people use. This is just like using this for an example, right? And it's when women, they ask the right questions, but they don't want to listen to answers they don't want to hear. The only answers they want to listen to are the ones that they actually want to hear. She knows he's a ladies' man. She's picking up that he's an F boy. So some subconscious part of her is like listening to what he's saying and is like, okay, okay, but it's being filtered through, I need this relationship to work because I'm not living here without a husband. So I'm going to twist your words in my mind. I'm kind of disregard what needs to be disregarded. I'm going to expand on the things that you say that I like. And we're just going to minimize everything and dismiss everything that's not good. But that's not what you have to do. In dating, you really gotta listen to what a man is saying and just repeat it to yourself, or even repeat it out loud because they'll agree with you, really, because they don't care in the beginning. You repeat it, or you repeat it in your mind what they're actually saying without the fluff, okay? And then kind of write it down or like make a little note in the back of your head so you kind of review it after the date or whatever, and you're like, what did I learn about him? Like, what did he tell me? What did he say? Not what I am hoping. Oh, I see potential. I mean, there's a seed of something special there. There's a little speck of gold in this that I can work with. There's something. That's not how you have to do things, because then you're just gonna keep end up doing trash.
You know, my dad is one of the most smoothest and suave guys I know. I looked up to my dad. I've always felt like as a man, like I should probably emulate who you look up to the most, you know.
Yeah.
My ego is very huge, like, it's been a pro and it also been a con for me. And naturally, I am a smooth guy, but the suaveness, like the chill, the coolness, is like a little bit of a security blanket.
Him talking about his dad here when he says like my dad is smooth and suave. We all know what that means, right? He's saying his dad is a ladies man, his dad is a player, right? And then he says, "Oh, I want to emulate my dad." So he's saying, "I want to be a player." And then immediately, I mean, he is just really just telling on himself here. And then this is the one of the biggest red flaggiest things a man could ever say to you, because he just said, "I have a huge ego." My dears, he just called himself a narcissist. Straight up, real plain, real simple. I have a huge ego. And in case you were questioning if does he really mean he's a narcissist? Yeah, because he said it's, pros and cons for myself. So he knows that his ego has caused him harm, but it's also helped him. And how has it helped him? He goes on to say, he uses his suaveness, or aka his playerness or his f-boy ways, as a defense mechanism, right, as a shield. So he told her, "I'm a narcissist, I'm a player, I want to be like my dad, I want to emulate him, and I use being a player as a defense mechanism." This is the most alarming and scariest thing that he said. Honestly, I would have ran out the room after he said this, because this is so alarming to me. And see if you can kind of pick up on it.
You know, I've always felt like I could get women, but there's been a lot of women that I loved. I never felt like I was chose by the one like that I wanted. I guess maybe the way I come off, maybe I don't provide that sense of security emotionally. Maybe it's not as comforting. And the thing is, lady, like this experience has definitely been like eye-opening for me. I don't have the physical to lead on, you know, and like even I'm talking about financial stability. Like I'm not taking you on a date for you to see my money and the things I got.
Right? He goes on and he's talking about, I can get women, but the woman that I get is never the woman that I want. So I get lots of women. I entertain lots of women. I use lots of women, but they're never the ones that I want. Okay? He's I don't know how much else plainer he can say how he feels about women, like the contempt that's below that statement. Because all these women, if he's saying that he's never had a woman that he actually wanted, but yet he's had a whole bunch of women, that means that he's ran through, ruined, used, played, manipulated so many women. Why? As an ego boost, because he just said, I have a huge ego. So he uses women, and none of these women that he has been with are women that he actually wants. That means this could mean either two things. He does not want a woman, he's gay. Or, which is fine, but live in your truth and all that. Or B, the kind of woman that he actually wants is so far out of his league that she probably doesn't even exist. Right? Because if he's saying that, he uses his wealth and everything else to get girls, but yet he can't get the girl he wants and he's never been able to, either the girl he wants, like I said, is not a girl, or she don't exist. Either way, all the other women that he was with them knowing that he didn't even like them, knowing that he didn't even want them, knowing that he didn't even want them to pick him. Like that's not even, so he's just using women. Like he doesn't care. This shows like such a level of callousness, and how a man has treated like past women is how he's going to treat you. The woman he wants doesn't exist. So if he's talking to you and telling you that he's never been with a woman that he actually wants, but he's been with a lot of women, just know what that tells you, what your future, you're going to be used, manipulated, and then you're going to be discarded. He's just going to throw you out like yesterday's trash. And again, like he reiterates, "Hey, I'm not emotionally here for anybody, okay? Like I'm not gonna provide emotional comfort to any of these women. Like I don't care. I'm not giving them any of that stuff. And the only thing really I had to offer them, and I didn't even like them. So really, because he already told us that the only thing that he is willing to put on the table is physical stuff, right? His touchy-feely and I like to be sensual, and he's willing to use his money and his suaveness with his, he was showing off his radio voice 'cause, apparently he just uses a tone and timbre to hypnotize these women, right? And all he wants to offer is dust and D. That's it. That's what he's offering. He's not offering marriage. He's not offering commitment. He's not offering maturity. He's surely not offering any kind of emotional stability or comfort. All he's offering is a wall, distance, being a player, cheating because he wants to emulate his dad. And, we find out later that his dad used to take him on his cheating escapade. So he knows exactly what he's saying when he says, I want to emulate my dad and I look up to him. Emulate means to do what they did. He knows what his dad did. It's followed him his entire life, but yet he still, as a grown man, says he wants to emulate that. And then he tells you, and in case you think I'm joking, like I actually have a track record, and this is how I have treated every single woman before you. And he's pretty clear about having trust issues as well, right? Like the only way to get to my heart is for me to trust you. He's not trusting anybody. Like he practically told us that in no uncertain terms that he doesn't trust anybody. And for everyone that's kind of like wondering, hey, what kind of narcissist is he? He was kind enough to kind of clarify that for us because I think this is like the second time he says it. He says, I need validation. That's how he gets his supply, in case, she was wondering. He's really telling her everything. Everything. By the way, I get supply by validation. So once you just keep feeding my ego, just keep inflating it. Like it's like a black hole is my ego. So keep on validating me, and I'm not gonna give you anything in return other than objectifying you. Cause yeah, I don't care about emotions and I don't want to love somebody. I don't want to show somebody that I love them. I don't want to grow up and I don't care about long-term commitments. He says it. Real plain, real simple. And after he's done, releasing this verbal diarrhea of his most innermost thoughts and how he operates, pretty much he gives her his manual, his MO, right? This is what she says. So let's see if she was actually listening.
Clay. Clay. I feel like I understand you.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like as a man of your caliber, which I assume that you have caliber because you tell me so, to like be that vulnerable and be like, look, this is where I came from. This is what I know, but I want different is like honorable.
Yeah.
Not to be like dramatic or anything, but this is actually like nauseating for me. My eyes were rolling like so hard when I was watching this. But this is the honestly there's no other way to put this. So I'm just going to say it. This is pick me logic, okay? This is pick me logic 101 cuz she starts off as a man of your caliber, and I'm assuming you have caliber, or I believe you have caliber because you just told me that you have caliber. So there you go. I'm going to start stroking your ego as a man of your caliber, aka as a high value man. For you to say that you were vulnerable, and that's so honorable. That's the pick me logic right there. I don't know what part of what he just said was honorable. Like, what part of this was he wasn't being vulnerable. He wasn't trying to be cute. He was being honest because I'm sure he's done this like dog and pony show and women eat this up, I guess. I have no idea why. Like I can't actually like wrap my mind about it. Like what part of this is like the honorable part? The part where he doesn't want to grow up, the part where he says I like to, use women and the woman that I want is probably not a woman, and she's doesn't exist or is so far out of my league. She's probably like a friggin' celebrity or something. Or I'm not sure about wanting to even be in a long-term commitment, and also like my role model is a cheater and I'm trying to be that. The only thing I really willing to offer you here is my money and my words as a player and my voice, and I like to bang. And by the way, I also am a narcissist, and I know it's detrimental to me because it really hasn't helped me that much, but I don't really care because I use it as a defense mechanism. Um, you liking what you hear? And she's like, oh my God, wow, he's being so vulnerable. Like, no, dude, like he's telling you, hey, enter at your own risk here. There be dragons, is what he's saying. And she just walks right into it, right? So she's asking all the right questions and he's giving her the truth. But the pick me logic is filtering out what is the inconvenient part of what he's saying and just only kind of listening to the parts where it sounds good or her interpretation of what he's really saying, because honestly he literally just said that I'm the most dishonorable person here. That's what he said. I have a hard shell and I'm completely dishonorable. That's what he said. And here we have it, the coup de grace or the piece de resistance, right? He's like listening. He's like, oh, wow, shit, I guess she's happy with that. Wow, really? Wow, I'm honorable. Wow, everything I say, like, wow, that means she's down. Like, I got her, right? And then he just lays it on.
Feel like my worst fear is like we fall in love, we have this beautiful connection. It's like, we do the reveal and it's like, oh wow, like we never really talked about physical. And like that is important to me. Like Love is Blind, like I get it. Trust me, I get it. I just want to have that reveal door and like, be super turned on by my wife. My favorite attributes like lips, butt, and all that stuff. And that sounds like so shallow and all that, but like caring what your best attributes are. If I'm gonna propose, that's something I need to know.
Regardless of the emotional connection.
Regardless of the emotional.
The funniest thing about this is like when he says, this is what he needs, he is more sure that he needs a baddie than he does his sureness about wanting to be married. Because he was so adamant and firm when he was like, it's important, this is what I need. Looks matter regardless, right? Regardless of emotional connection. He just told you his list of priorities, okay? And I feel like she hears it, but she doesn't listen to it. If you've been taking notes on this situation, then we really have like just his entire personality just plainly put out for anybody who's willing to believe him. He's telling you the truth. Looks matter. It's his greatest fear that the woman his quote unquote my wife isn't hot enough. And we have a reference point about like what is the likelihood, like what are the odds of me being that woman, right? Like let's see what kind of odds are we dealing with here? Oh, what did he just say? Oh yeah, I have never been with a woman that I have actually wanted. All the women that I have wanted has never wanted me. I imagine those are women with standards, by the way, or not women, but that's beside the point.
And I'm not mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm not mad. No matter what it looks like to the outside world or to me, like Clay is going to show up as Clay. And like he gives me the option to accept it or reject it.
So what are the odds here? Like now that I've interpreted everything that he said, would anybody really take that bet? Like, is anybody really willing to settle or choose or why would you want a man like this to pick you? That's a curse. He's a curse. There's just no way. There's just no way. He's not even trying to cover it up. He's not even trying to be slick. He's not even trying to hide it. He's telling you the truth. And I know in the ending, like after the whole wedding thing happened, and she seems so confused and lost. I feel so bad for her. But we got to listen. Like, we really got to pay attention. This is why so many women think that you can't vet men, because they go online and they see, okay, these are the kind of questions that you have to ask them. This is what you got to do. You got to talk to them this, you got to ask them about this, you got to find out about their family. But none of that matters if you don't listen to the answers. Like, none of it matters if you listen to the answers that they say. It goes in one ear. You use pick me logic and was like, oh my God, wow, he's being so nice. Wow, at least he's honest. Hey, just because he's being honest doesn't mean he's a good person. Okay? Like that, those two things have nothing to do with each other. Him telling you and being open with you, he's being open about his evilness. He's being open about your future. You just have to listen. So if anybody else has picked up on, I know this was literally just like me analyzing maybe less than, maybe about like, actually probably less altogether, less than 5 minutes of his words in the first episode, and he honestly just gets worse along the way. Like, I'm 100% sure he was cheating on her later on with the whole, um, "Oh, yeah, no, I'm working. Oh, yeah, no, I gotta sleep here." Yeah, no, that's second family. That's like, you don't come home for 2 days, you don't call, you don't respond. Girl, he's cheating, right? And it's no surprise. I mean, he told us that he wanted to, and he does. And, I think it was, like, at the last episode of the wedding when he was saying, like, there's some things about himself where he can't even look at his face in the mirror. Okay, when he's quite honest. I would say he was consistent. He really was, like, he just said words and used the tone of his voice and talking about money and what he had and future faking, I imagine he was doing too, to play a game. It's all game playing to him. I really don't want this to happen to anybody else. Like, it's like, I feel devastated for her, but let's use this as a teachable moment and move forward. That you can't just be asking the right questions. That's good, but none of it matters if you're not listening to the answers. But put your thoughts, if you guys caught anything that I didn't, or you have something else to add, something else you noticed about him, or even one of the other couples, let me know. Put it in the comments. Thank you.